Hello, everyone. Hello, Don. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing pretty great too. Thank you for asking. So today we're gonna talk about a very new tool, Perforce Intelligence Testing. But before that, can you introduce yourself a little bit for the
Sure.
people that don't know?
For the people who don't know, my name is Don Jackson. I'm the technical evangelist for the testing business unit here at Perforce. I've been here for almost a year. I started in June of last year. Prior to that, I spent 10 and a half years at what's now OpenText. So through the HP, HPE, Microfocus, OpenText, the whole transition set, right? And prior to that, I spent 17 years on the customer side of the table before I came over to the dark side. I mean, the vendor side of the equation. I also I'm a father of five, and I sang opera professionally for 13 years. So a little bit
All
about me.
right. And do you love Star Wars? Just a question.
Yeah, yeah,
You
might be a
love.
fan of Star Wars back in
Oh
the day.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So today you're
And
gonna talk.
over here I've got the all the pop guys from the funniest movie ever made, Office Space.
I don't know this one. I need to
Oh,
watch it.
well, yeah.
Sorry.
See
And so,
the safe for work version first, right? You know, the broadcast version. Unless
okay,
you want the
we'll check for
non-safe for
that.
work version, but yeah.
Oh no. All right, so let's talk a bit about performance intelligence testing. What can you tell us about this new tool before we go for the demo?
Yeah,
How does it originate?
so so perforce intelligence testing is really taking the concepts that we've pioneered with Perfecto AI. So this concept of execution agentic AI and starting to divorce the execution artifact from the test case design. So you still design your tests in plain language, but then you can tell it, do I want to run it as a functional test or do I want to run it as a performance test? The exact same test definition, same user journey. And then Perforce Intelligence testing will actually create that execution artifact, whether it's a Perfecto AI test for functional, or is it going to be a browser-based test in BlazeMeter to execute that test? And so the idea is that you can define your tests and then choose what type of test you want to execute. Does that make sense?
It does. It does for me. And I'm not gonna lie to the audience. I already saw how it works and I was very impressed. So I want to see it again. So let's go.
All right.
Show us.
So
Take us to the
so I
future.
yeah, take us to the future. So we're talking about, it's this is a fundamentally different approach to AI for testing, right? And to use that example, Back to the Future scripts, where we're going, we don't need scripts, right? From Doc Brown from Back to the Future. So testing testing's been falling behind, if we're honest with ourselves in the testing industry. And why have we been falling behind? Well, because AI has increased the velocity of development, right? And a lot of times we're stuck with manual testing because it's completely new and we haven't had the chance to automate it, which just slows everything down. We've got this maintenance burden that we talked about. We've got a skills bottleneck, right? That I need specialists to work on all these different frameworks that we were talking about earlier. And shift left for testing never really happened, right? We said we were doing shift left, but when you start looking at what the industry really is, we never were able to shift that testing completely left, like we said. And we don't have this quality overview. So, yes, okay, so I get all this testing done across all these different types of applications and all this different type of testing. And then someone manually has to create a report that says, this is what happened across my performance and my functional testing, right? Or if I'm doing security testing. So what are we doing? We've created what's called Perforce Intelligent Testing to give you this unified AI-driven approach. So take those natural language tests that we talked about, for Perfecto, and abstracting that out so you can define your test as an abstracted layer and then say, hey, I want to run this as a functional test or I want to run it as a performance test. And the solution will then build the execution artifact of either a Perfecto AI test or a BlazeMeter browser-based test. So really consolidating what's BlazeMeter and Perfecto into a single experience, that capabilities into a single experience. And being able to abstract out additional things like policies and creating these global rules that will apply. So what's a good example of a performance policy? Well, I want to create a performance policy that says, I expect every response to come back within 2 seconds. Now, is that hard to do? No, that's not hard to do. I certainly can go in and put an SLA on every single request. But if I've got hundreds of requests in my test, I got to do that hundreds of times. Now I can just create one global policy and off I go. Pretty amazing stuff. So how does it work? You describe your intent, and then Perforce Intelligence handles the rest. It configures your platform. Think about all the configuration it takes to execute a test once you've defined it. On the functional side, right? So I say I've got my test written, whether it's a script or a Perfecto AI test. Now I want to run it. Oh, well, I have to define and add in which devices or browsers I want to execute it on, or desktops I want to execute it on. I have to go in and put that into a test suite. I then have to schedule it. All this administrative stuff, not terribly hard to do, but it's time consuming. What if I just define that in plain language and let the system go do that? And does an analysis of it and give you a combined report. What a crazy idea. Give you a combined report of how all your testing was. A single place to do it. So reducing your prep time by like up to 3x. So here's a quote, right? I want to spend time, the time spent should be translating requirements into test cases, not executing them. And that's what we provide. Here's an example of it, right? So I've got this, and you saw it kind of in the demo, right? Here's my test, right? I want to go to Amazon, search for a black water bottle, filter to 5 stars, click the first non-sponsored option over $20 and below $4. Think about how hard that would be to automate, by the way. All these conditions that you're putting on there. Add it to the cart, proceed to checkout. Check that the final amount includes shipping. Then, hey, run it across 4 mobile devices and 2 different browsers. And off I go, right? So create the schedule, create the environment, and the suite as it was described. And the system performance intelligence testing. So we had, you see in the upper left hand corner AI Test Studio, right? That was the old name. Mm-hmm. The new name going live before we change the name before we go live. I know that's a crazy idea. Companies do that, right? Happens. Performance intelligence testing, right? I was on a program once that I can't think of the name now. Oh, I was going to use this example. Now I can't think of the name. Oh, senior moment. Terminator, Cybertech, the name of the AI in Terminator.
Oh wow.
What was the name I can't remember the name, but that was the internal project name of the AI thing that we were working at that company. So now I've got this test running, I can go in and I can go watch it, right? And I get punched out to, in this case, because I said functional, I get punched out to Perfecto and I can watch the test executing. Now, if you're like me, I don't really like to watch tests execute, right? I do that when I can't sleep and suddenly I fall asleep and I want to fall asleep standing up because that'd be bad. But how about I take that same user journey now and run it as a performance test? Okay, and I think this might have been what I showed you a little while ago, Kenton. I think you were kind of like, oh, this is pretty exciting, right? Which it really is. So what if I want to make a change, right? Oh, I want to do 1,000 users instead of 500. I just click a button or type it in and boom, it makes the changes for me, right? Is it hard to do that? No, it's not hard to make those changes, but it's time consuming to do it. There's a lot of user clicks that I have to do. The system goes and does it for me. And then I could punch out and go watch it. Well, when you start using this, now you can start thinking about, man, maybe I can change how I do testing. So here's an example of pulling in a test from for Marriott for I want to test Marriott.com, right? And oh, hey, look, dark mode. I like dark mode. I just took a screenshot and I import, this is my test. Now I want to say, well, think about how I do define tests, right? So instead of saying which specific devices, I want to say the latest N-3 versions. And for browsers, I want to do N-2 versions. And I want to run a performance test in parallel, run it all together instead of doing it sequentially. And then have it analyze that and bring that all back to me. And boom, off it goes and starts doing all this. So I define my test. Here's what the test that actually created in Perfecto. I can punch out to that. And you see here, okay, so I've created that and I've created the environment, and sometimes, so this is an early access one, hey, I got an error. Well, it even recovered from its own internal error, right? Something got changed on one of the endpoints and it got the response back and said, this is the error message. And it goes, oh, well, I can fix my request, and it automatically fixed it. So what a crazy idea. And okay, so I talk about policies. Well, what policy do I want to do? I can define my policy or use policies that exist. I can extract out policies and I have this policy. And I can go watch it and I can go see, hey, it's starting to fire up all these different instances that I was doing, right? So the evolution of how I'm doing testing. Well, what if I take it a step even further? What if I evolve my prompt even further? Could I get to the point of, so we talk about, and I know I didn't talk about it here, but I talk about, the maturity model of AI testing, right? And the one we're trying to go to. By the way, here's I can go out and punch out to BlazeMeter, and I can see the run happening in BlazeMeter too. And in case you missed it, there was also a combined report in there as well of, hey, here's my status of everything that's going on right now. But how would I evolve it? Let's change our prompt and make our prompt more robust. And in this case, I want to get to an autonomous test. So I'm going to tell it, hey, I want you to operate in a fully autonomous way and make decisions independently. And I'm going to give you, these are your guardrails. I want you to run a test against Marriott, but I'm not going to supply the test to you. You understand that Marriott reserves hotels rooms. That's what it does. Create realistic end-to-end scenarios covering the core user flows for a hotel application. And make sure that it's both functional and performance. Don't create a new application. Use an existing application. Create it as a single test suite. Create one environment with these environment things. Create synthetic data for me so that the test can run with new people reserving and that type of stuff. Create it as one policy. I want to have one policy that performance is always under 2 seconds. Or 2,000 milliseconds. We specified it was milliseconds. And execute them all. Start immediately after you finish setting it up. Give me a status report every 1 minute until it's done. Then create me a concise report highlighting the overall execution status. Right? What happens? So I could take that same prompt and pass it in. And I'm evolving how I'm doing testing and letting it make these decisions for me. Now, I get logs. I get in the log, what it is that it did. Here's the create policy. I associated these components, right? All the things that it's doing. I'm getting that into the log. But if I can well define what it is that I want to have it do, it can go through and do it. And I can start, popping out and go and watching what happened before. So created this test. It created that test. You can see it's created multiple tests for me that are appropriate to this particular application. Search for hotels, initiate a hotel booking, look at deals, view hotel details and room options, right? So these are all core business processes. And off it goes. So we kind of talked about, right, before using performance intelligence testing, where were we? A bunch of different frameworks, right? Performance testing was done typically post-sprint, if it was done at all. There are a lot of places that go, I just don't have time to do performance testing. My results are in separate tools. And getting a lot of failure rate is actually accepted as normal. There was one company I talked to that said, yeah, as long as my regression tests have less than 20% failure rate, it's a pass. And I went, oh, that's so scary to me. Okay, great. Can't show that face though on the meeting with them. Yikes!
Yeah.
Right?
I know the feeling.
So with this, I got one scenario to do functional and performance. I can run in sprint testing simultaneously. I get a combined report, including trending data. Stable tests stay, and we target the gaps. We deliver a new AI approach to testing. You don't have to rip and replace. We can plug the gaps where you have them. So for example, like the Perfecto AI stuff I had there, if you have like, say 10,000 playwright scripts and only 20% fail, so that means 2,000 fail and 8,000 don't, keep the 8,000 that don't fail, right? And let's focus on the 2,000 that do. And maybe there's one or two statements in each of those scripts that fail. Replace just those statements with AI statements, right? So we can meet you where you are. Our vision is that Perforce Intelligent Testing, you'll have essentially 4 themes, okay? The first is, which is, as I mentioned there today, right? Well, GA in 5 weeks. Functional performance testing in a single place. That is an amazing concept for the industry, right? That's the first theme. Second theme is, what if we can take performance intelligence testing and ingest what defines your application? So you notice I didn't say requirements like I have in the slide, because when I say requirements, some people think I'm talking about waterfall requirements. That's not what I'm talking about, although it could be. What I'm talking about, whatever defines your application. So that could be user stories, maybe in Jira, right? Maybe even connect it to Jira. User documentation, help documentation, system requirement specifications, system design specifications, UX designs, screenshots, Figma diagrams, the code, the actual code connected to the code. If we could ingest all of that and analyze all of that and say, okay, based on this, we understand what your application's supposed to do. Here are the tests that you need to do in order to test that. Positive, negative, edge cases. These are all the cases you should do. That's what we're talking about with theme 2. That's one of the things we're working on. Theme 3 is going beyond performance of non-functional testing types. So UX acceptance tests. So imagine I talked about policies, right? And that in the initial one, we have performance policies. What if I could create a UX policy around accessibility? And I could say, hey, the first time you come to a page, visually scan it to see if it meets the latest WCAG standards. Wouldn't that be amazing if I could just make that a global rule? Or maybe I could do a UX policy that says, hey, we have branding standards. By the way, from theme 2, you ingested those branding standards. Make sure that every page is rendered with meeting our branding standards. So fonts, font sizes, colors, color codes, all of that stuff, right? That is in your branding standards. And the list goes on of the types of non-functional testing you could do with policies and defining those in plain language. And then the fourth one is, so you remember back at the beginning of this, I talked about the different capabilities of Perforce. What if I extended the testing capabilities to leverage other capabilities first from a Perforce perspective, and then in the future, make it an agent-to-agent conversation where you could, if you have a competing solution, you could do that. What do I mean? Great question. Thanks for asking, Kenton. I appreciate you asking, what do I mean? So think about, I can define what it is that is my application from theme number 2, from this theme over here, right? Including in that are architecture diagrams and architectural standards. Okay, so we're an Oracle database shop. We use this architecture diagram. What if I could include in my testing prompt to say, hey, stand up my lower environment. So at runtime, it stands up your lower environment. And hey, by the way, we have this Delphix capability, right? To bring in test data in there as well. Use the Delphix capability to populate it with properly masked, compliant, rich test data, plug any gaps in my testing with synthetic data, bookmark all of that, run my tests, bookmark all the data again in the state of the environment, and then tear down the environment. And my environment could be a truly ephemeral environment that's only up and running while I'm running my tests. And then it shuts down. Think about what that would save you from a cloud cost or a hypervisor cost. These are huge things that you'll be able to do, and that's theme number 4. So our vision for this is you'll be able to generate tests from whatever defines your applications, screenshots, videos, and the user behavior. Imagine if I can ingest real user traffic from production to model out how I should test it, especially from a performance perspective. As a former performance engineer, that's a little scary because that was like a good part of my job, was modeling what I was going to test in a lower environment based on what the real users were doing. Imagine if I could do that in minutes instead of the hours it took to create that. And then proactively have the AI ask you for clarifications. You saw that in some of the videos. It asks some questions, right? So if I don't give it all the information it needs, it's going to ask me questions and expand the coverage. And as we continue to evolve it, it might come up and say, okay, so you've got, this change request or this commit happened. Based on that, these tests need to change. Would you like me to change them? And these tests are the tests you need to run. Would you like me to run them and stand up the environment for you and then tear it down when we're done? And that's talking about executing the right tests for each change, right? Now, remember, this is the vision. Not all of this is here yet today, to be clear, right? And then analyze those results, give you a holistic, across all the types of testing that you're executing, a single report broken down by category, doing a root cause analysis on it, and then make remediation recommendations and include in that root cause analysis what the business impact is for those failures. And think about this. If we extend it to other parts of the Perforce business, like P4, maybe even go change the code and fix the code and rerun the test. This is the vision of what we have. And then opening that all up, because we are a huge, as a corporation, we have embraced open source, the open source community, opening that up and allowing an agent-to-agent capability where you could potentially have, other solutions in your stack. Maybe you, for some crazy reason, you aren't using everything Perforce, although we're happy if you do, but maybe you're not. Maybe you're using some other competing solution and having, as long as they have a good enough agent and MCP servers to support it, providing that connectivity, that open connectivity in there. That's where we're going with Perforce intelligence testing. It's super exciting where we are today, and even more exciting where we're going in the future. So I know you and I are already connected, but if someone else wants to connect with me, this is my digital business card QR code. If you scan that QR code, you can then have it add me to your contacts, or you can just connect with me on LinkedIn directly. Or you could do it the old-fashioned way on the left-hand side.
That's perfect. I was going to ask if people have questions where they can address them and talk with you. So that's amazing. Thank you.
If you can't tell, I'm super excited about this, right? There's so much you can do today. You don't have to wait for the future to start evolving. It's changing what we as testers do too. We as testers, so I get this question asked all the time. Man, is AI coming for my job? That's quiet.
Oh,
is
yes.
AI coming for my job? A lean forward, right? They have this worried look in their face, maybe a little twitch, right?
Maybe the AI is listening.
And maybe you feel that way. You're listening right now.
Mm-hmm.
Look, AI is not coming for your job, but someone who utilizes AI effectively is coming for your job. Now, my challenge to you is, are you going to be that person, or are you going to let somebody else do it? We all need to look at, and I'm not saying you have to come do Perforce or you're going to be left behind. I might feel that way sometimes, but AI is part of everyone's job. Everyone needs to, for example, start learning how to write good prompts. Mm-hmm. Everybody in every job. Because if you don't, someone who can use AI effectively to do your job, a marketing job, someone who can use AI effectively to quickly create fantastic looking presentations and sales collateral, and do that in potentially minutes, and being able to think of new ideas of what to do to prompt the AI to do it and turn stuff around faster, is going to replace somebody who's just doing it the old-fashioned way of building it all themselves. it's not just about testing. It's not just about technology. Everybody needs to look at and utilize AI effectively. So that's my parting thought.
I do agree. Actually, we put up an article recently on LinkedIn talking about what you just said. So totally agree.
Yeah.
So thank you, Don. I'm gonna let you go. Thank you.
Thanks for inviting me
to
to come chat with you. If you can't tell, there's a little bit of passion and excitement. I'm very passionate about testing, and I'm very passionate about making the lives of people in my chosen profession better, right? And frankly, that's why I'm here now. Is I think our solutions can make your jobs and your life better as a tester now.
I think that's a good conclusion. Thank you, Don. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks for the invitation.
Bye bye,
Cheers.
everyone.
Bye.